Good evening, everybody. I want to welcome everyone to LSE and to the Conference on the Future of Capitalism in an Age of Insecurity. So the idea for the conference grew out of a series of conversations with colleagues here at the LSE and also beyond about the pressures and the cross-pressures buffeting liberal capitalist democracies today. And it's to that end that we convened a group of leading scholars, analysts, practitioners from different disciplines. The idea was to create an opportunity for direct, unmediated discussion across many different disciplines. We begin tonight, though, by considering the role of technological innovation and the challenges that we face in turning new technologies into good jobs and shared prosperity. And we're very fortunate to have with us tonight someone who has thought long and hard about these issues, Professor Daron Acemoglu.
We are in the midst of a very consequential social and technological transformation, but some very important questions are not being asked. And those relate to who controls technology, how that control translates into different forms of technology, and also for tools such as artificial intelligence and digital tools more generally, who controls the information that is so central for their functioning.
I think the importance of this particular set of issues really can't be overstated. One of the really interesting things about what people now call neoliberalism has been the capture of the phrase capitalism, as if that very narrow, very particular version of capitalism is what capitalism is, and anything that is not that very narrow particular version is somehow anti-capitalism or not capitalism. Whereas, you know, in some ways you'd almost want to drop the word capitalism and just think about free enterprise.
This is not the end of globalization. It is recentering the globalization. From saying there should only one factory in the world, to saying one source of chips, to saying one source of the back-end work, one source of predominant capital, to one where we're beginning to say you can actually create a diversified structure. And here, the old multilateral institutions are not going to work. And I believe like-minded coalitions, cross-cutting coalitions between North and South, which are more likely to succeed rather than the familiar West versus non-Western institutions, because a lot of us in the non-Western world are prepared to work with the West, provided the West is prepared to engage on a mutually beneficial, productive basis.
My question is kind of about how do you practically implement this suggestion of shifting mobilization to be more around economic than cultural issues?
Ideas without political champions, political parties, civil society organizations, those ideas can remain footnotes to history, right? They have to be championed by political actors and other actors if they're going to become actual policy outcomes.
We know from economic history that changing technologies of work and production are tremendously important in the way in which capitalism works. It's going to be a question of how well our political institutions can respond to it, can plan around it, can in some ways even ideally anticipate some of its impacts.
Certainly I think there is a problem at the WTO. I don't think that the rules as set up are helping, or helpful, I should say, helpful to countries that are so far behind. I think that's one area where clearly I think there needs to be a rethink.
Workers don't believe that the global economy is working for them, and it hasn't been distributed equally among individuals, so it has brought a lot of prosperity, but not to everyone equally. And this inequality compounds existing social and political tensions, and it further undermines beliefs in the global economy.
Now we have a backlash against globalization, and I think the temptation is to move, again, overcorrect in the other direction. Forget about liberalism, it doesn't work anymore. What we need is economic nationalism, subsidies, industrial policies. The real danger we have today is, I think, states may get a little too enthusiastic, a little too unapologetic about the correction, and they may overcorrect. And I think that's the challenge that we face today.
Redirecting technological change, I think, has to be a part of the agenda, part of the conversation, and part of what we aim with policies.